Hello everybody, how you doing? This is Jordan Tremaine with another book review, and today we're going to dive into something interesting and with some information that you might not expect. I read this book called The Toyota Kata Method by Mike Rother, and I read it in real life, but I forgot the book in my car, and my car is at the shop, so I'm showing you a picture of it here. But this book is really good, and we're going to get into why, which might not be what you expect, in just a minute. If you like these book reviews, please subscribe to this channel so I can continue to make more and share this with other people. And if you like it, then click the like button. Anyways, so the Toyota Kata Method is a book by Mike Rother, and it's talking about the company Toyota, the one that makes like trucks and cars and Priuses and stuff like that. It's talking about that company and something they do inside of that company in order to be efficient and effective. This book is very aimed at manufacturing and how to run a factory, but when I look at it a little closer, when I actually read through the different pages, to me it's a lot about how people work together and how people think, and how maybe it serves them or doesn't serve them, which was really interesting to me. Admittedly, I opened this book because I'm working on a manufacturing project, but as I was reading through this book, it was more of a how do you think and how can we reframe the way people think project. And I thought that was really interesting. The Toyota Kata method, I think, is strange in the way it works out in real life, because if you're into manufacturing or lean or 5S or any of these pop-up words if you work in a factory, there's a lot of things people do to try and make things more efficient that actually come from the ideas in the Kata method, like Gemba walks and shadow boards and Kaizens and Andons and stuff like that. And it's not important to know what those things are, but the way that you use a tool, because all those things are tools, is important to how you get a job done. So if you have a screwdriver, but you're trying to use a screwdriver to, I don't know, like pound nails in, I mean, it could work, but that's not the right tool. You should use a hammer. And the way you use a tool has a lot to do with your experience and how successful you are in the end. So I think the Toyota Kata method is a tool, and when you read through the methodology and you learn why Toyota is using this tool and how they're using this tool, I think it can give a lot of insight into how people behave and how people work, and how we can help us as a team of people or as individuals to think differently and solve problems. So I think in the kata, for me, kind of the main thing is that if you want to improve, you have to do two things main before you start, and that's understand, if you want to improve, if I'm like, I'm me, I'm here, and I want to improve, I want to be over here, I have to know where the start point is and then have some idea of where I'm trying to get to. That's important. If I know where I am, but I don't know where I'm trying to get to, I could start in this direction or this direction or this direction, and I could go like way in the wrong direction if I have no idea where I'm trying to get to. And if I know where I'm trying to get to, but I don't know where I am, that's like calling somebody and saying like, hey, I'm lost. Can you pick me up? And they're like, all right, where are you? And you're like, I don't know. It's not helpful, because then they can't come get you. So knowing where you are and having some idea of where you're trying to get to, which a lot of the times the final destination is not clear. It's hard to know. So it's not like you have to know exactly where that is, but you have to have some idea, like a direction, like a compass, to kind of point you in that direction. So once you have those two things, you try to move in that direction. And the interesting thing about the Toyota Kata method, it's talking about not trying to make this perfect plan to accomplish this all at once, to like totally build this bridge that you can like walk across to get over here. It's saying like, as soon as you know where you are and where you're trying to get to, what's the lowest amount of work I can take so that I can immediately, as fast as possible, take one step in that direction. And once you take one step, now where I am is a new location. So I have to know where I am again. I have to take a second and figure out where I am. And now that I know where I am, that might change where this is, where my goal is. And you take one step and maybe your goal's over here. Then you take another step and maybe your goal's over here. And you take another step and your goal's over here. And it's about taking little steps and recalibrating. And constantly trying to figure out what the current real situation is. Taking a lot of time to do learning and figuring out. and then taking a step based on that learning, and then learn again, and then take a step based on that learning. There's a lot of other stuff in this book, and I don't think that what I'm doing does justice to the book at all in terms of my description right now, but I think that was really important for me. And the other thing, aside from making sure you take little steps with as little information as you can, I mean, try to gain enough information to know what's going on, but don't overanalyze and try to figure out how to take the next 5 steps. Just do enough to take the first step, and then do enough again to take the next step, and then do enough again to take the next step. The other thing that I thought was really interesting is, before I talked about the different kind of ideas or methods in 5S or Lean or Kata or whatever, like Kaizen and Gemba walks and shadow boards and all this stuff, where you have this initial thing, this is where I started, and then you have this goal, this is where I want to go, and sometimes you use tools, like, you know, if I'm in Los Angeles and I want to be in Las Vegas, sometimes I use a car. A car is a tool, and it helps me get over here. And those different things that I mentioned are tools, but I think a lot of times, if we don't take time to really understand what the bigger scheme is, where I'm trying to get to in the bigger scheme, we can get caught up in this thing called implementation, where we try to just, oh, I have tools, let me use the tools, and try to just use things and make results happen without understanding the situation. And to me, that's kind of like in Fantasia. There was this skit where, that was like a movie a long time ago, some Disney movie. Mickey the mouse, he was a wizard guy, and he was the wizard's apprentice, and then the wizard left, and then Mickey had magic, and he was like using it, but he didn't really understand how to use it, and it went like way out of control, and all this crazy stuff happened. And it wasn't until the wizard came back, who really knew about magic and really knew what was going on, that he was like, oh, I see what happened. And he was like, shoop, shoop, shoop. And if he fixed everything with a couple little swipes. And I think that kind of breathes into what I'm talking about now, because it's about learning what you can until you know what you need to do, and then making that step. And if you just use tools and try to implement things and make solutions happen, then a lot of times you don't really understand what the problem was. And when you don't understand the problem and you just implement solutions, I mean, what's the chances that those solutions are going to work? It's possible, but it's also possible that you're trying to solve a problem that doesn't even exist because you don't really know what the problem is. Or you're making new problems because you're just adding all this extra cost by putting all these solutions in. So kind of understanding the situation and then using tools to help you get towards the bigger picture. And the tools that Toyota describes are interesting because they're designed to cause problems, or to make it better. If it's really hard to tell where the future state is, can I do something that's going to force me to see the obstacles that are stopping me from getting there? And so a lot of the methods that Toyota uses, and this I think is explained really well in the book. If this sounds a little weird here, I'm trying not to make this like a 40-minute book review, but the different methods like Kaizens and Gemba walks and stuff like that, or different lean manufacturing techniques, I think a lot of times they can be seen as tools, and I use this tool so things are better. But the point is, I'm trying to get here, and I'm using this tool to really show me what I need to work on. The tool is not really there to fix things. It's just there to show you what you need to work on. People treat these tools like screwdrivers, but they're really like flashlights. And you start using the flashlight, and once you use the flashlight, you can see better, and you're like, oh, there's the problem. And you have to go deal with the problem. Instead of like using the flashlight and you see a problem now, and you're like, man, this flashlight's broken. All it does is show me problems. And it's like, that's what it's supposed to do. So a little bit of reframing. I think in manufacturing, a lot of times you try to like do something and it solves a problem and we don't have to worry about that anymore. But that's like not the way that people work. That's not the way that groups work, and then that's not the way factories work. So taking the time to understand how that does work, and then using tools to help you have clear vision so that you can make situations or solutions that are right for the particular situation you live in. I thought this was really interesting because I read it as a manufacturing book, but it really spoke to me as like a general living book. Like, this is how to make relationships work. This is how to like run your household. This is how to do a budget. Like, learn about stuff until you know enough to take a step, then take that step, and then learn more, and then take that step. and use the tools that you have to help you along your path. The tools are not the end product. It's like when they say like money is not the end. Like money is just a tool to get to the next place. These Kaizen things are just a tool to get to the next place, but we're trying to get there so we can move on. And we're not trying to like, oh, now I have money, I'm like, I've conquered the world, I'm done, I don't need to do anything. It's like, no. Like, we're trying to improve, we're trying to get better, we're trying to build relationships and stuff like that. So if you read this book, you don't have to be in manufacturing, I don't think, but if you read it with an open mind and try to think, oh, how does this apply to humans? How do humans think, and how does this work in with that? You can use a lot of these manufacturing tools in any sort of team environment, even if it's like two people in a relationship, I think. So that was really interesting to me. And in terms of manufacturing, I think this does a lot of reframing of the common ideas of lean manufacturing and 5S that I think can help people actually implement things and gain results. It may not be fast. The methods here are not like panaceas. They're not cure-alls. They're not like, you know, just do it and a week later everything will be better. This takes time. You have to learn about stuff. It's hard. It's confusing. They talk a lot about this gray zone, which is the space between the start and the finish. This is gray zone where I don't know what's there. That's why you need the flashlight to like take a step in and then use your flashlight. And you take another step in and then your flashlight shines a little farther. And you, oh, now that I'm 2 steps in, my flashlight shines a little farther and I see something I haven't seen. Now I need to take care of that. And now that I've taken care of that, take another step. And it happens over and 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 over, and you get closer and closer and closer to your goals. So I think this speaks a lot to like, if you do the work, if you do the thinking, if you set it up right, then it'll happen. And if you're trying to cheat and cut corners, then you're just going to get frustrated. And that I think goes in a lot of different aspects of life. So the book is, let me turn this iPad back on. So the book is The Toyota Kata Method by Mike Rother. I highly recommend this book, and not just for manufacturing people. This is a good way of thinking. It has good ideas, and even if you don't use these methods in your everyday life, I think they're good to have in your toolbox because they're good tools. But yeah, this is the book. I appreciate this book, and I highly recommend it. So this has been Jordan Tremaine with another book review, talking about the Toyota Kata Method. And yeah, I'll see you later. The reason that I did this is because kata is often related to karate, and it's like this practice of a certain sequence of moves, like 1, 2, 3, and then you like practice that over and over and over, and that's called a kata. And by practicing those moves over and over and over, you learn techniques, or you learn what the master's trying to tell you through that kata. It's kind of like in the Karate Kid, like the wax on, wax off thing. That was a kata, where he was doing that and he didn't know why, but he was learning a deeper truth. Because at the end of the movie, he was like, oh, block that, oh, block that. And he was like, oh, that's why I'm learning it. And that's kind of baked into this kata book. It doesn't really talk about the Karate Kid, but that kind of idea where we're using these tools to help see the bigger picture. So we can like block stuff, even though we're washing cars right now. So Karate Kid's an interesting movie. Yeah, I'll see you guys later.